Hello everybody, I am Ed Chambers and this is Three Reds Kumar. And I'm joined in our studio, the Pavilion here, with two people who could not be better placed to dissect the cricketing action of the weekend. Max Parry, and for the first time on this podcast, stepping in for our absent archaeologist, Adrian Waddlove, Bertie Moores. And of course, as our inspiration, Kumar Dharmasena on third umpire would say, we are on screen now. That's right, for the first time you can watch us on YouTube, complete with graphics and statistics to accompany our chat. Afternoon, boys. How are we? And what did we get up to over the weekend?
I mean, well, we spent most of the week decorating this room. This is my college room in Collingwood. So beforehand, it was a dank, dark room. Now it is a cricketing hub for everyone who wants a little bit of a bat and ball. It's
been a bit like a year 2 arts and crafts day in here.
It's been beautiful, mate. I honestly didn't think cutting out a million pictures of sort of Jeffrey Boycott and Dwayne Leverett would be so cathartic. But
you found it quite therapeutic, really.
I just forgot about life, really.
Yeah, so to prepare for it all, I've been doing a load of graphic stuff. Ed's been doing all the content. You've done a bit of cutting and sticking really slowly. You look like really in your element. But yeah, so we're going to be here hopefully over the next couple of weeks, every 3 days or so, depending on how long it takes this horrible thing to edit down, bringing you all of our opinion on the Cricket World Cup as and when all of the information comes to us, and hopefully it might actually broaden my cricketing knowledge, because my record so far is
you sit there with a Bolton Wanderers mug.
Yes.
With,
hands off my Bolton mug. People keep nicking it from the library. But my record is woeful on the field, so hopefully off the field it'll be a bit better. I've only ever
bit of a debut for you on this podcast, and what a way to make your introduction.
Yeah, well,
after Adrian is
sunning himself in Rome. Yeah, so my record score in cricket is 7 out, under 12s level. You retire at 35 at under 12s, and I went out to bat sort of 9. Don't really bowl. It's a classic
Makes
combo.
You perfectly qualified for this.
Very well qualified.
Yeah.
So I went out to bat number 9, and you normally retire when you get to 35 under 12s cricket in the Bolton League, and this lad was on 25. But you don't retire after the 7th wicket.
Right.
So if you get out. After the 7th wicket, you can stay and bat as long as you want. I walk out, hit my first ever boundary ever, the only boundary I've hit in history.
Raise your bat.
Skiddy edge down behind the wicket keeper to the short boundary with the flags, and then I look down the wicket and I see the coach, and I remember his name. His name's Chris Taylor. So Chris, if you're watching, I still hold this against you. He turned to the lad who was batting and said, "Look, lad, you're on 24. If he gets out, you get to stay in."
Oh no!
So he told him to run me out, and since then I've always held it against me that my highest ever score was so painfully cut short at 7.
Cut off in your prime.
He ran a 12-year-old out.
That's it.
For the win.
I can really
all for the W.
I can still see it in your eyes.
And he was only encouraged. He was encouraged to do it. Goodness. Well, we are. This is a new position for me on this podcast. We are without Adrian, who normally gives you a little bit of a lyrical introduction, but you may see in the edit I had a few goes at my intro. But
I prefer your short, sharp, to the point.
To the point.
Let's get cracking. Sort of introduction.
We've got. I mean, the focal point of this setup we have is our World Cup trophy, which in sort of Sky Sports style is sat next to us on the position here, and of course Kumar.
He looks great, doesn't he?
Who we're just going to stare at longingly.
Yeah, he does look good.
Like most people refer to post exams as gold rush.
Yeah.
But our post exams is filled with us sat in a really, really warm college room with a shrine to a cricketing umpire we've never met.
We're cool blokes.
Right, should we start with the cricket?
Let's talk about cricket.
Well, for starters, we've had a lot of rain. Biblical levels of rain, so quite a few games at it's only been a few days since our last podcast, but the main story has to be England on Saturday with a fantastic, emphatic victory over Bangladesh. I slept through the first innings, but obviously called it on catch-up. Pretty impressive performance from England.
It was, I was actually playing football, so I missed it as well. But
there you go.
The magic of highlights.
What a great position to be in.
We're in a great position.
What insight we can give you.
The magic of catch-up television meant I also have seen the highlights. I thought Jason Roy was I mean, he put the Pakistan debacle to one side. He looked accomplished, and he really showed what an asset to this England side he is. I thought they knocked the ball around, Bairstow and Roy, to start with at the start of the England innings very well. They sort of, I think they're starting to dispel this narrative now of start with spin against England. You know, they knocked the ball around and we were for no wicket, and they're stuck on a load of runs, and obviously Roy got his 100. So I doubt we'll see them starting against spin again. But I thought it was really accomplished. Jason Roy looked fantastic, and obviously Joss Buttler came in and did what Joss Buttler does and scored 60 off about 10 deliveries. So that was great.
Because I've been saying to you lads, when in the game against Pakistan, it was a sort of strange one because England still hit more than 300. Joss Buttler got a century. Root got a century. There's a certain players who are in form. The bowling and fielding wasn't great, but the strange thing with Butler's innings is that he came in his standard position, sort of 6 or 7, but he came in about 20 overs too early. Normally, if you have Joss Buttler coming in, you want him to come into the final 20 and you want him to just do his job. He shouldn't have to play an innings which dictates the whole course of the overall England innings. Now, when he came in against Pakistan,
he doesn't need to be worrying about conserving wickets.
Well, he hit England's fastest ever century in a World Cup, and yet it didn't seem like he'd done enough because he couldn't come in and play the role he wanted to. Like, for me, it comes down, I think if any side's going to beat England, because they've hit more than 300 in 7 games in a row, it's a world record, whatever. Any side's going to beat England, it's all about getting the openers out. As soon as you've got the openers out, if you can get Roy and Bairstow gone for maybe less than 80, you've got players who've then got to come in, they've got to play an innings, and you've got to have every single one of those players play the innings they need to then allow the tail end to actually fire. Against Bangladesh, perfect platform, no wicket until about 100 and something. Then send in Buttler because right, we've got the platform for him to go. And even though he got only 60 or so, I almost felt that innings was more influential in terms of what dictated the game than his 100 the previous game. Because he has that opportunity to really kick the side on and be like, right, okay, we're going from a 280 score to a 340 score just like that.
No, that's what I was going to come to when we on the last podcast, and I feel like we're going to get some new viewers / listeners to this game. So we've got a great back catalogue of material to make your way through over the last couple of times. But one of the points I made was the importance of the fact that England in the first 2 games had lost that opening wicket inside the first 20 balls, and that really didn't happen. I almost feel like the importance of the opening partnership. Not only does it set the tone, but it's the balance of the team as well. Because I don't know what you think about this, but if you lose an opening wicket, Joe Root coming in at over 4 versus coming in at over 20 is a completely different kettle of fish.
100%. I think England, if England's openers get off to a flyer, I think the opposition think 50 overs is a very long time. If you take Jason Roy early, if you take Johnny Bairstow early, and as you say, get Joe Root to the crease in there, 10 for 1, 20 for 1, whatever, suddenly 50 overs doesn't feel like such a long time. I mean, it's easily said, if England are 180 for 1, it's a bloody long day in the field.
It's the fact as well that it goes so deep. Like, with other sides, you think, right, okay, we'll get the openers out, we might get 3 or 4 out, and then they'll have one lad who'll come in at 7. Plonk it at 27 off 9 balls.
They just keep coming, don't they?
It's depth in terms of power hitting, and they have to come in at a certain point. As you said before, there's no point having Buttler in. If he comes in too early, then he doesn't play the kind of innings that he wants to play. It's a bit more complicated.
But absolutely.
Pretty much domination. Bangladesh, they didn't really. It was a tough day for them, really.
It's difficult though, isn't it? You're against a side which looked like they'd found their groove. It wasn't just a case that Bangladesh were very sloppy in the field, and the final 10 overs that they were getting all the 2s when they should have been getting 1s. Everything was going through, and you just think, well, I mean, on another day maybe that 15 runs would have made the difference, but it wasn't going to make a difference in that game. England did look in full flow, but I think
go on, sorry.
They do just really rely on certain players turning up, but even then sometimes it's not enough. Like Shakib hits a century, does a job, but like, if you've not backed him up in the first place with the rest of the squad, then they're always going to have problems.
I think Bangladesh were probably one of the few spectators of England-Pakistan that were willing England on, because they probably were watching England-Pakistan thinking, bloody hell, they're going to blow some cobwebs out for next time round, and all the mistakes that they did make that would allow Bangladesh into the game and allow someone like Shakib to actually influence the game, it didn't matter, because ultimately England really righted the wrongs that had gone before. But I totally agree. Sorry, I totally agree with what Bertie's saying. You know, Shaqib was immense, but I thought Tamim, he got sort of roughed up a bit by Jofra Archer.
Very much,
I'm
yeah.
sure plenty of opening batsmen across this tournament will be watching that ominously.
That ball that he got the first wicket for, he clipped the top of the stumps and then clipped over the top, went for the boundary.
Yeah.
He's bowling at such a pace that the batsmen want to get out of the way. I wanted to ask actually, because obviously we've now had 3 games for England. The 2 games that England have won, they've opened the batting, they've gone into bat first. How about chasing? So do you see any dynamic in the potential for England finding it easier to go out and just express themselves in the first 50 overs of the game rather than when the pitch is a bit older? Back and chasing.
Well, I think what I almost feel with it is that if England have the potential to put such enormous totals on the board, we know England bowling isn't bad. Like, the fact that they are the best team in the world suggests that they've obviously got a good bowling attack, but it's sort of a lot different to India. India have got a far better bowling attack, and there's a really good article on Cricket Info which we'll copy into the video, in which it talks about how India are happier to allow the bowlers to do their thing. They're not worried if they're getting 300, 280 sometimes, because they know that the bowlers can come in and out-bowl them. England's a little bit different, so I almost think that the fact that if they can go out there, put an enormous total on the board, which you almost think that 8 out of 10 times they're going to get 320 plus, as the past few games would suggest, then if you can get that required run rate in the first place above 6, up to 6.5, it really forces the other side to really go for it and chase it. And if they have to go for it and they have to chase it, then that puts them under pressure, and that'll get England wickets.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think this tournament was going to sort of highlight potentially is how teams can chase. I mean, Ireland still hold the record for the highest run chase in a World Cup, which is 331. So that's 6.5 rate. People have never really got to that.
And we know that World Cup's different to a bilateral series, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we were talking before this tournament about will we see the first 500. I think to a large extent we've actually dispelled that notion, or rather we don't expect that to happen anymore. Obviously we've had 10:30 starts. It's been very, very dewy, very, very drizzly, very moist underfoot, and I don't think that's been very conducive to the mammoth scores, the 450s, the 500s. But I think also, as Bertie's just alluded to, this is a World Cup. And that is the difference between, you look at England's form coming into the tournament and you look at, say, Pakistan's form coming into the tournament. Big match pressure. It isn't the third game of a bilateral series that you've already won. This is a home World Cup. This is the big tournament. And ultimately, look, if England don't lift that trophy at the end of the summer, or the midway through the summer, the big one right there. The big one. All of these ODI series in the lead up to the tournament will be utterly pointless, right? It's big pressure. But I agree. I don't think we'll be seeing the 400 plus. And if you do get 320, 330 in the first innings, you're big time in the box.
Really, really good score still. Yeah, very, very, very interested to see how that's going to unfold if we ever get some more cricket in. The weather is going,
exactly.
And we'll come back to that later. I think that's just about all. Bangladesh, as I said before, great sort of difficult chase for them to do. Shaqib played very well. He's way ahead in terms of the all-rounder statistics as a tournament so far. Yeah,
he looks absolutely fantastic. There's no doubt. I think he would get into essentially every side in the competition. I think the problem they've got, and similar to South Africa, we said this on the pod last week, is they've got a few genuinely world-class players, but they don't have the same depth. And I think for Bangladesh, look, if they could get into the top 4, exactly. If they could get into the top 4, that would be an amazing job. But I think they've really shown that they need to be taken more seriously as an outfit in future tournaments, because they definitely are a top side.
It is an odd format though, and I quite like it that it allows England have a sort of 5 out of 10 performance against Pakistan. They have the time to write it, and they're already basically back up in the top 4. But it is a strange one, isn't it? How you have 9 games over which you will generally select the best 4 teams, but then, well, that's it. Beyond that, it's a semi and a final. You've got to turn up for it.
Well, that's interesting. Like, in terms of the Football World Cup we had last year, a lot of talk was about how the draw favoured one side, and there's obviously in this kind of format, there's no talk of any group of death. There's no way you can get the luck of the draw. You have to go and. Although you can with the weather, I suppose, but other than that, you have to go and beat the best. It's simple.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? And I guess it depends who you support, right? Like if you believe the World Cup is a test of determining who the best team is, then I guess this tournament format is ideal because, as you say, the cream should rise to the top. The best should make it through to the final 4. Conversely, it was amazing when Ireland beat England and dumped them out of the tournament. Or when you have these upset and these momentous victories. And I guess you're less likely to have those games with any consequence behind them. You know, England could lose to Afghanistan. I mean, I don't think it will happen. But ultimately, will it bear any significance? Probably not.
But as a quick point, given the fact that it's the first YouTube pod we've done, I think we should raise the fact, because we mentioned it a year ago when we were doing what was formerly Sports Feed Cricket, the fact that they'd reduced it from 14 to 12 to 10. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen the documentary The Death of a Gentleman, really good. Jared Kimber and his journalist partner, they basically go out and try to find what they think as to sort of why Test cricket is dying in their sense, and they don't really come to the conclusion that Test cricket is dying, but they almost, like with all great documentaries, they find a little bit more than that. And what they really find is that basically India, Australia, England, particularly the BCCI, have a lot of control over the ICC, and as a result, the ICC is not being run in the interests of world cricket. They almost describe it as the ICC is the only world governing body which isn't trying to push its sport around the world, and it's sort of strange in that. Okay, Afghanistan and Ireland being granted test status, fantastic. It needed that. The game needs.
Zimbabwe have got it back.
Needs that push. They've got it back, but the problem is if you're not giving these smaller sides the platform to play against the best sides. England have lost to Netherlands. England have lost to Ireland over the past few years.
Lost to Scotland.
They've lost to Scotland. If they're not given the platform to perform at what is basically being described as the world's greatest festival of cricket, then what can you sort of expect from it? There's absolutely no chance that the likes of Nepal, the likes of Hong Kong, other places around the world which are trying to push cricket forward, are really going to break through. And I think it's something which, although the IPL will become one of the world's biggest sports franchises in the world as India gets more and more developed and middle class, but I feel like cricket will be really at a loss in the long run if they don't think, well, let's push this to the whole world.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I have this conversation with my housemates. Aren't hugely into cricket, but they find it totally bewildering that cricket is the second most watched sport in the world. But of course, as Bertie says, it's in concentrated areas, and it actually isn't a global game, and this isn't a global tournament, although it's very much in England's favour. This isn't a global festival of cricket in the truest sense that it could be, and I think that is a real shame.
How is it different to the Champions Trophy?
Precisely. Well, it's the Champions Trophy, 8 teams. I mean,
and exactly the same locations.
Yeah.
Plenty to ponder there. Moving on, India against Australia. That was on Sunday, and I didn't watch that game either because it's a pretty busy time of year. I think
it's a busy time of year, isn't it?
A pretty. I feel like the last podcast we did, Max and I were certainly expressing some concerns about the form of Australia in particular, and they didn't quite manage to take down India, and India looking very strong themselves.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I thought Australia had lost the game as soon as the game began. It seemed, I mean, they not so much lost, but they were chasing. I never felt at any stage that Australia had any sort of command, any sort of control. Shikhar Dhawan was fantastic. I thought Stark and Cummins, they saw him off pretty comfortably, after which they really exposed the frailties in Australia's side. Could actually, if you said the ball's not going to swing and there's not a lot of pace in the wicket, which there wasn't when India played Australia, well, after that you're looking at Marcus Stoinis bowling 80-mile-an-hour throwdowns, you're looking at Glenn Maxwell tweaking his arm over and Zampa not finding a lot of turns. So if you can get through that new ball spell with Australia, and world class as they are, if you can get through that relatively unscathed, you're well set up to get a good score against Australia, and that's exactly what India did. As we say, Darwin was superb. I thought India in general were really fantastic, and look, it was one game. We said on the podcast that we were worried about Australia. India have since beaten Australia. Now we're really worried about India. But they did look very, very good, I must say.
As you say, it's one game, and in this early stage of the tournament, you imagine at the top, South Africa are gone, Bangladesh aren't going to make it, Afghanistan are gone, Windies would have to really push for it to get into the top 4, and then Sri Lanka's gone. So you're left with England, India, Australia, New Zealand, and Pakistan, and I'd be surprised if Pakistan made it. So it looks like you'd imagine over the course of 9 games each, you know who's going to be in the semi-finals, and even if it's just one game, you know that at the end of the day it's a World Cup, and it's not a 7-match series if you're playing India-Australia. I feel like that's the first real marker result of the tournament. Not in terms of upsets. Bangladesh beating South Africa is fantastic. It's really good for the tournament. Sorry, Sri Lanka pushing Afghanistan pushing Sri Lanka close is really good. But India beating absolutely hammering Australia, I think sort of indicates where this is going to be going for me. I think in England and India are the obviously two strong sides, or at least the ones who are in form. South Africa are gone, even though they're third place. I can't imagine them winning the tournament. I could be wrong, but I just think that
they got their first point on the board due to a match being abandoned.
Yeah.
You say it's just a one-off, but Australia's record for the past 18 months in ODIs is pretty damn poor. It's really, really bad. Like in comparison to England, in terms of win percentage, it's nowhere near up there. They have airlifted in some players, but I just don't see them being up there at the end of the tournament.
And interestingly, without those players, just adding to that, although I agree exactly with what you say, Bertie, adding to that, without those two players, the aforementioned or the scarcely mentioned Warner and Smith, without those players, they actually did go to India and win.
Yeah.
And there is no doubt that although there are gaps on Australia's side, and that India game definitely showed those, Australia still have world-class players that even if you score 320, 330, Smith gets a big 100, Warner comes off, Glenn Maxwell finishes the innings off, they can still beat any side. Yeah. But as Bertie I think rightly alluded to, it was a good marker, and I think it separated India from Australia, who you could have up to that point considered genuine contenders or favourites.
That damages their status, you think, for that?
I think it just illuminates where the holes are. They battered Afghanistan, but actually Stoinis hasn't scored runs for ages. Maxwell isn't in particularly good form. Warner, I mean, I don't know what went on.
Sluggish.
It was very sluggish.
I had this written down here that the first wicket went with a score only on 61 after 13.1 overs, and when they're chasing a score of just shy of 350, that's really not the kind of impetus that you want from your opening pair. I mean, we've just talked about Roy and Bairstow in terms of, I mean, they weren't chasing, but the importance of that opening partnership was key there, and they didn't show up at all. It's just very, very lacklustre.
And it's surprising given how well Warner did in the IPL.
Yeah.
You wonder whether, I mean, maybe I'm...
56 from 84. I mean, that's rubbish.
And they lost by how many? 30 odd?
Yeah.
Is that right? So, yeah, I mean, and look, it's easy to say you open the batting, and obviously that's the most difficult place to bat. But it's surprising given his form in the IPL. He did incredibly well with Bairstow at the top of the order, the two new best mates of world cricket.
Yeah.
I wonder whether maybe we're not giving him enough credit here. Perhaps he's looking at the tournament and he's discussing it as we are, thinking, well, hang on, this is a 9-game tournament. I don't want to get on a trough of bad form early on. I can afford to soak up a few deliveries. We get look, maybe we're giving him too much credit and that he's thought about it so much. But I wonder whether would you rather hit your straps?
Dave Warner now.
Well, he's a changed man.
If you look at his pulverise every team he plays, surely.
Maybe he does, but he's grown out his beard. I feel like he's been on some kind of journey. He's clearly found something with himself. I mean, maybe he's taken off after Cam Bancroft and found some mindfulness and some spiritfulness. But
part of the Durham contingent now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, highly controversial that appointment. Although he's done very well.
Yeah.
But no, it was surprising. But as we say, I think it really did separate India from Australia. And I think as much as Australia have still got big guns, they can still win big games.
Yeah.
I think they're just a little bit way off India and England at the moment.
So, I mean, I'm thinking about what you said. I mean, I take the point on about it being essentially 9 matches that you've got to play, but at the same time, what I find so unnerving about India in terms of their potential threat is the fact that that's 2 openers now. That's in 2 games and they've both got centuries.
Yeah.
Kohli, I mean, he's always got more to give. There's literally no. I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday. Actually, there's nobody else that you'd rather have chasing in a game of cricket in the middle overs. I just don't think that the way he can just turn over the strike and hit the boundaries.
Well,
necessary.
I mean, Viv said that Viv Richards said that Joss Buttler was the best batsman. I think we were discussing it the other day. The best ODI batsman of the last 10 years. I'm not sure I agree with the great man. I think you're right. Virat Kohli, he just oozes class and confidence, self-confidence, and I think that permeates throughout the ground because it seems that the opposition shrink. When Kohli walks out the bat. But I think you're absolutely right. India look imperious force. And they've got Jasprit Bumrah, who I think he's the best seam bowler in the world. Archie looks great as well, but I think Bumrah's totally fantastic. And it's amazing.
They let that pedigree over a little bit.
Well, and I'd add as well, they've left players like Rishabh Pant at home, and he's a truly devastating batsman, and it just shows the depth of talent that India have got.
And you've still got Dhoni coming in, still there
with his black salt and pepper beard.
It's a 6. It's still like it takes you back to that fantastic World Cup win 8 years ago now. But, no, very impressive from India, as you say, increasingly impressive, impressive force. Other than that, it's been New Zealand did beat Afghanistan by Afghanistan, I think it was by 7 wickets.
Yeah.
Was that?
Absolutely crushed them.
Absolutely crushed them. And 79 for Kane Williamson as well, coming right into form.
Yeah.
Again, sliding under the radar, but on top at the moment.
I mean, it's the classic cliche. Pakistan, you don't know what you're going to get, and New Zealand are the perennial dark horses. They look a very, very good side, and in a similar vein to Australia, actually, they've got some key characters. You know, for Australia's Stark, you've got New Zealand's Bolt. For Australia's Smith, you've got Williamson, Ross Taylor. They've got a very good side and are capable of beating anyone, undoubtedly, with the match winners that they have. I just think, in a similar vein to Australia, there are gaps in their side. They don't quite have the same depth. I mean, they've got Henry Nicholls is out, and I think he's the 5th ODI batsman in the world. I think in the rankings. Yeah. They're missing a few players. I don't know if Colin Munro's in the side either, but I just get the impression that they have the potential to really go and win the tournament, but I just don't expect them to do so when they come up against.
Again, like we've been saying about the format of it all, that they're one of the sides that you would imagine on the balance of play after 9 games to be in there with a chance
I would expect
of
so.
the semis.
I would expect so.
Gets to the semis, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Because it might be you win the toss, the pitch is in your favour for your type of batsman or your bowlers, whatever. I think if when you get to the semis, it's anyone's game, and I imagine they're going to be one of those that are in there. And I think it's funny with New Zealand when you think about it. It's a country with 3 million people, and I know it doesn't really sort of mean very much in terms of like who's actually going to win it at the end of the day. But they really do. They do punch above the weight, and this is probably arguably the greatest New Zealand side ever at the moment. Arguably.
Well, I mean, look, I'd say this generation of players that they've got. We call them the dark horses. It's ridiculous. They got to the final last year.
Yeah.
They're pretty much nailed on for the top 4. You would expect them to get there. I think if they didn't, it would be a disappointment. They're undoubtedly a fantastic side. The only question mark is whether they've quite got that. I mean, look, they are tagged as Neely men, the little brother of Australia.
Does that work in their favour though? Almost. Do they slide?
I honestly don't think it matters because in the past they'll have been the little brother and they'll be getting pumped by Australia. So it doesn't really mean anything. But there's no expectation. There isn't any expectation at home probably for them to win the tournament. They'll hope, right, we've got a good chance, but there's no expectations on this side. And you look at the other ones, and I mean, India are very good. England are at home, maybe the pressure might get to them, you never know.
Well, and what you would say quickly on conditions, actually, if you were New Zealand, they got to the final last year.
This is it.
If you were a New Zealand fast bowler, if you were Trent Bolt and you said, where in the world do you want to play cricket?
New Zealand conditions.
New Zealand conditions, and English conditions are very much like New Zealand conditions. So I think, don't rule them out by any means. They're a very, very dangerous outfit.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'd do a little preview. I know Bertie has a quiz for us just to wrap things up. And
we do.
This first
get ready to roll the graphics.
This roll the graphics. And first ever televised. I'm digging
I think
myself
it's
out.
Three Reds TV. What we doing?
Yes, right.
To be honest, I back you, Bertie. You can take it. I thought I'd do a little bit of a weather forecast because I felt it was necessary to. I got on the BBC weather app and had a look.
Roll the sun and rain icon.
I haven't got like a hologram here that just comes up.
Yeah.
So
we do have a green screen, so if you want to do that next time, more than welcome.
I can do a weather forecast. And rising in the east, but Australia playing Pakistan tomorrow. Taunton. There's a chance of some rain the first part of the day. Hopefully we're going to get some cricket in. 5 o'clock, it may start tipping it down. India against New Zealand, which is set up as a fantastic game at Trent Bridge.
Huge game.
There's a yellow weather warning, which means there's a chance that heavy prolonged rain could lead to local flooding, which is not massively conducive to full game of ODI cricket.
No.
But the sun is going to come out in Southampton on Friday, which is probably when we'll next meet for this next instalment of Three Reds Kumar, England against West Indies, which to me, I'm a little bit unnerved by that game because I've just got this sense that Chris Gale he's not quite exerted himself on this tournament. I've just got this sense that
they beat him in the World T20, didn't they?
Yeah, it was, and they're the only side that we didn't beat in an ODI. We've
got him on the wall, Carlos Brathwaite, somewhere. They're just in the top left corner. Carlos Brathwaite.
Remember the name.
Rest in peace, Ben Stokes.
Ben Stokes will be. I want to see that actually. Ben Stokes coming into bowl against Carlos Brathwaite.
Love him to
but I would put a little bit. Maybe I'll put a little bit of money under it. But I fancy Gale to get a century against us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The universe boss.
Ready to come into.
He is the universe boss.
If you're going to go for a nickname, Universe Boss isn't half bad.
Yeah.
Don't blush.
Yeah. Don't start that, mate.
No, he's great.
But just before we come on to the quiz, I'd like to raise a few things. Adrian Wadlove's not here.
Yeah.
It's not here.
Wadlove is not going to get away without being rinsed on this programme. So you're going to get a few things coming up on the screen in a sec. It turns out that Adrian Wadlove is a big fan of being the keen cricket journalist that he is, of of going on public Facebook posts and acting as almost like a de facto Lancs reporter. Now, me and him are both from Lancashire, both for Lancashire, but I'm not active on the Lancashire County Cricket Club fans page. Now, this will come up in just a sec, but Adrian Wadlove, turns out he regularly posts what appears to be sort of press association style posts upon the
I've
page.
seen these pop on my feed.
So here's this from yesterday at 6:35 a.m. Clearly while he was waiting to get the bus to Rome. Worcestershire versus Lancashire. New Road, Worcester, 11 a.m. start. County Championship. Lancashire aims to do the double over close rivals Worcestershire, having beaten them at Old Trafford last month. Cue generic press association report. Plus the squad. I mean, you've got to give it to the man. He's very keen.
He needs to get out more, doesn't he?
He does need to get out more.
Hang on.
We have spent the whole day decorating a college room with.
I think I'm steaming as well. I think I've got a bit flushed.
With pictures of Kumar Dharmasena, but
No, he's
Wadlove,
the geek.
come on.
He's the geek. Yeah.
I was wondering whether, like, in my intro, I should say he's gone to Rome. Or I should just say he's been recruited as the next single to go into Love Island. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what?
No, I can't.
I don't think they don't give the viewers what they want. Tonight on Love Island, Adrian's talking about cover drives with Amber on the daybed. So no, thank you.
No, it's not what we need.
Get back where you belong. The only villa he's looking at is probably a ruin in, like, near the Forum or something like that.
Oh, he'll be in his element.
Right.
You can imagine him. I bet he's got zip-off trousers. I bet he's there with trousers that you can zip off into shorts. Really practical.
Nick on.
Yeah.
He's got his nick on around his neck, his polo shirt. He's probably got wraparound sunglasses that he's taken from the cricket field. And he's having an absolute ball.
That's it. But my fashion sense is still very bad, according to Adrian. So I'm doing alright.
I think, mate, you're looking good, mate. I like it.
Let's think about this.
I looked you up and down.
Normally I turn up with a hangover and sort of a Greg's breakfast when I go into our podcast. I think about it today, but no. Bertie, I got a little quiz for us.
This is our new quiz.
I didn't even know this was happening.
This is our new quiz. Roll the stinger. Not ours. It's not even it. Who's that?
Oh man,
nice.
Who's that? Nice.
Somewhere someone like primetime television needs to sign up Bertie Moore's. Like
he does, doesn't he?
The formats that you create are just, fantastic.
This whole format was created on the basis of I was watching fantasy football YouTube clips while trying to avoid doing work, and I thought, that could be us. That could be us.
This whole format.
And it is us. We're here now if all the recording's gone correctly. So anyway, I will offer you a series of clues to a certain
Otherwise we're just here in a room with cut
we're just chatting.
Us chatting.
Yeah, and if the video's not working, it's just audio, and you can't see any of this. So I'm going to give you a number of clues.
Okay, I'm going to put this down now.
to a cricketer, and after each clue, one of you may shout "stop," and at which point you may say which cricketer you think that is.
Nice.
Yep. There are 10 clues in total, and they get progressively easier.
Message us in if you get this before we do, by the way. That would be really bad. Grandma's perched on the edge of her seat, ready to get it.
Firstly, I was born on the 24th of March, 1979.
Okay, I've got an idea.
Have you?
Yeah.
My father was a right-handed batsman who bowled medium pace.
Ooh. No, is it? No, he's not 40.
Someone who shouts stop is allowed to answer. Question number 3. I played 79 ODIs with a batting average of 13.88. Get the Purple Radio brand on show.
I'm really struggling, mate.
Well, I had an idea, but I don't think he's 40. He's not 40.
How many ODIs? 13?
79 ODIs with a batting average of 13.88.
And his dad was a right-handed batsman who bowled medium pace.
Sounds a bit like me, to be fair. But chuck in slow medium and we're maybe there.
That's it.
I played for Northamptonshire.
I'm totally bewildered.
I only ever played for English county sides.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
We're getting somewhere.
What's the dad, though? He's 40, so he's recently retired, presumably. Yeah, it must be. I think we're still going at 40. Go on, keep going.
Yeah.
I played more than 50 tests for England.
Played for Northampton, 50 tests for England.
Well,
the dad thing, because that should really.
It should make it easy, shouldn't it?
I've put these together quite well, considering I typed them up while they were talking about West Indies.
See, well, first thing when you said the dad, I thought Stuart Broad, but it's not Stuart Broad.
No, that's
it's gonna get okay. I had a bowling average of 29.96.
And he plays
Not bad, not shabby.
79 ODIs for England as well.
Not shabby, is it?
Is that for England?
That's his Test bowling average.
Dad.
I couldn't be more blank.
My dance became briefly fashionable following an England Test series.
Stop. Graham Swan.
It's Graham Swan. Max Parry gets the point.
Well done.
That's pretty sad that I got it on the basis of dancing and nothing to do with cricket.
The remaining clues were my last England Test was December 2013. I took 255 Test wickets and I am an off spinner.
Yeah, we got it on the off spin.
Graham Swan, one of England's probably I'd say most underrated bowlers.
He was a bit of a firebrand when he first got in, wasn't he? He had not dissimilar hair to you, but sort of more frosted, tippy.
I love
Don't
when
do
he used
that,
to come
by the
in
way.
though, when he used to come into bat.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
the right sort of eat. He would get like sort of 60-ish sometimes.
Yeah, you used to love the odd sort of 40 at 9.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we're coming to the end of the show. We're running out of we're running out of memory on the camera. It looks like we've got about 3 minutes battery left. So in 2 minutes, we've got a couple of emails. First email from Chris is first show of the new series in effect. Who are you backing to be top 4 in the World Cup?
Do you want to go? I think we're going to have similar answers. Well,
Probably.
obviously,
I mean, I think England.
Really?
Yeah. What with my sort of huge flag? Not very subtle. My persuasion here. England, Australia, India, and it's a toss-up between New Zealand and West Indies who gets in. I think the West Indies are going to do it. I think New Zealand may just come unstuck a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that when they're doing well, I mean, I think this tournament, there's so many good teams. When one team does well, they're instantly I fancy them.
Yeah.
But I fancy maybe those will say I went England, Australia, India, and West Indies, and perhaps not in that order. India ahead of Australia.
List 4.
England, India, Australia, New Zealand.
Same as mine. And finally from Matt, who's actually at Trev's. Fun fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really is.
I think I know you're about to. Yeah.
He's saying, given the fact he's in England and we've already had 3 matches washed out, is the rain going to become a problem? Quick.
I mean, if it rains, yeah.
Do you think it will really hamper the tournament? Do you think it will really hamper the tournament in 90 seconds?
It potentially could do. Could the washouts wipe out some people? I mean, I think it might well do. I think
over 9 games there should be enough rain that bounces out.
Yeah, I don't think so. Look, if it does happen, then you can put it down to that.
It's pretty depressing to have all the cliches
you
being wheeled out again, though, just like as in English summers and stuff.
But it's true though.
I was going to say it looks really good outside, but actually it doesn't fit.
I just wonder whether, as we get later into the group stage, whether what constitutes rain to the extent that you need to go off becomes more and more.
Yeah.
If it is becoming a problem, but
I think at least the ones that have been cancelled: South Africa, West Indies, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, they're not really the sides, thankfully, so far, which you'd expect to be going far in the tournament. So hopefully it won't make much of a difference.
Well,
Anyway, this has been Three Reds Kumar live, or not really live, but Three Reds Kumar TV, Three Reds Kumar YouTube, whatever you want to go with. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and as always, keep it Kumar.
Keep it Kumar.
Is that your Bruce Forsyth?
Keep it Kumar.
Keep it Kumar. Always keep it Kumar. Remember that.